our famous sea breeze and made quite a difference from Grant Rock to Braintree today, and especially as you get well inland. Now tonight, the opposite takes place as the inland suburbs are the coolest, and some spots will drop to the upper 30s in the low areas, 46.
All right, still on standby, playing the intro in just a minute.
Fair.
Okay.
Tomorrow, beautiful, plenty of sunshine, a high near 70. Tomorrow night, clear, low 46 to 56 in the city. High pressure moving offshore, starts a warming trend. Thursday, sunshine, a few clouds near 80. Friday, again, very warm, sun will mix with clouds, a spot shower in the area, a high of 80. For WATD, I'm meteorologist Rob Gilman.
Right now, we are looking at 62 degrees outside our South Shore studios. 612, that's local news. I'm Christine James. Stay tuned for Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara right here, 95.9 WATD.
Now, Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique real estate firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing consultants who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my real estate team member, Mary Baker, and I, along with the director of Boston Connect Real Estate, Melissa Wallace, provide you with our unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process.
I just made you a co-host
sometimes. So not only will you hear our perspective on real estate topics, but you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of some of our real estate agents at Boston Connect Real Estate and the preferred professionals that we trust. Be part of our roundtable.
Jasmine can't
if you
get
have
in for
any
some
questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you listen to podcasts at Talk
Jasmine,
Real Estate Roundtable.
you.
If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team or one of the dedicated agents at Boston Connect Real Estate to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with us at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. You are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. And I am solo tonight without my sidekick, Melissa. She is actually enjoying a little vacation time. She is in Las Vegas, and hopefully she is enjoying herself. She deserves that time off for sure. Certainly, it's a little difficult for me here trying to figure out how she does all this stuff in the back end. But we have George in the WATD studio. Hello, George.
Hi, Sharon. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And talking about vacations, we didn't get an opportunity last week to talk, but I know that you were living abroad there for a month out in the wonderful world of Europe. How was your vacation?
Well, not just Europe, but it was basically 3 continents in 24 days. And yeah, it was definitely different from the usual fare that I'm used to in America. It's well, Europe is similar. I was in London for 2 days and actually 3 other towns, Windsor and Bath and Stonehenge. The weather and the countryside is remarkably similar to New England, but they call it New England for a reason because it's based off of England.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, I've been to Italy and Greece and a couple other places. And I got to tell you, if I ever go missing, that's where everybody should go to find me. So I know we're trying to get all of our other guests up here, and I think that may have managed to do that. Boy, oh boy.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Never let them see you sweat. So we are doing stage 2 or part 2 of our such an interesting conversation that we had started a couple weeks ago. And I have, was it 3 weeks ago? He said 3. Was it Mark? Mark is there. Mark Eitel is with us, and he is Mr. Mortgage from Florida. And we also have Jazmine Glasgow, who's from Maritime Mortgage. She is on here all the time. And Jazmine, I was talking to Mary today because we have a big town meeting tonight. So we're going to get interrupted at one point just so I can talk to the chiefs. As you know, I'm a big proponent, and I sit on the committee for the public safety building committee, and we go to town meeting tonight. It's right at 7:00. So I got to shoot out the door. I was like, we need to train Jazmine to just take over the show.
I can end it out.
Okay, perfect. I'm so
I'm
glad,
just
right?
gonna talk real estate.
Yes. And I'm not sure if Mark is having a difficult time. I could hear him earlier, but now he looks like he's looking at some stuff. So is he in or is he not?
I think he was having trouble. Mark, can you hear it all? Oh,
We had him
no.
fine earlier, so I don't know what's going on. So maybe send him. Did you use the link I sent you in the chat?
Yes.
All right, send
Yep.
that
And
to
then
him
I
as well.
joined as a panelist. So I'll do that right now.
Okay. And I put you in there as a host. So there's something certainly going on in the back end. We also have another guest in studio with us. You know the rules here, my friend. You have to
I
get
do.
nice and
Hello,
close.
everyone.
Yeah, hold on.
Jazmine, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mark? Nice
I'm
to see
doing
you.
well, thank you. Same.
So we have Mark McNamara in studio with us as well, because I don't like being here alone. So I'm going to let you and Jazmine just take over the show so I can try to send Mark a new link. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Yeah. So Jazmine,
I
why don't
guess I
you
can
take over
recap.
just for a couple minutes too, and let all of our listeners know who you are. And because I know everybody does already know you, but give yourself a little intro, give yourself a little applause here and let people know everything that you do. I know your team is wonderful because I was just on the phone doing like a Facebook. We can't do that with you. I'm not Facebook, but FaceTime
FaceTime.
with
Yep.
myself, with Mary, our two clients, well, Mary and Sam, and our two clients and George, trying to figure out loan to value stuff. So
I know I'm the green dot on anyone's text message chain, and I apologize for that. During my 9 to 5, more like 6 to 12. I am the broker co-owner of Maritime Mortgage, where we just figure out financing for people. It's a whole host of fun. And a couple weeks ago, we were talking about some of the changes in the mortgage industry that have been coming down the pike for some time. We got the announcement in January, but apparently the media got a hold of it mid-April. And so a few weeks ago, we kind of discussed that. And I think that's the conversation we're going to be picking up again today. So I know the mortgage news has been top of mind. Financial news has been kind of running the headlines recently. I don't know if I don't watch local news on purpose. It's just, it's just sad for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are seeing it on the local side, but in the national news, it's been mortgage this, mortgage that. And so much of the time is usually just like people from my company just yelling at the screen, like, that's not true. That's not what that means, which is the purpose of part 2 of this conversation. So once we have Mr. Mortgage back, which I just love that name, Mr. Mortgage Radio.
I know, and he's so good. And I feel bad because I know when we first came on and we did a test, I could hear him. He was just a little low, but I could hear him. So I don't know what happened. So hopefully he'll make his way back in because he's a wealth of knowledge as well. So we will try to get him back in. Why don't you give everybody sort of a synopsis of what we talked about 2 weeks ago, and just, the rumors that people are hearing. And I think that that's the most important thing, because that's what I feel like we're trying to, the sky isn't falling, and everything that we're hearing, it's really making me nervous, Jazmine, that I'm hearing people say, oh, then we should just ruin our credit score. Like, this doesn't seem fair. We got to stop that madness. So fill everybody in on what the truths are. And I'm going to work in the back end while you're chatting to try to get Mark in there.
Sounds good. Yeah. Mark and I, Mark Eitel and I, not that, Mark McNamara and I haven't geeked out before, but Mark and I, the other Mark too, and I do it every Thursday. So I think you'd agree with my synopsis here. But essentially what happened is the loan level pricing adjustments, which are adjustments at Fannie and Freddie, which are the big proponents of conventional financing, right? These are the things when you hear conventional, you hear Fannie, you hear Freddie. They're nothing more than an entity. They're enterprises. They're running the underwriting rules. They're determining credit risk. Essentially, they rolled out these loan level pricing adjustments back in 2008 when they determined that due to all the foreclosures, there should be risk-based pricing for mortgage interest rates. So not everybody across the board gets the access to the same capital. They also rolled out a bunch of rules at the same time. So it's not like this is a new thing. But what had happened in January was they made a big adjustment to loan level pricing. And instead of just making credit-based decisions more expensive. So say like if you have a low credit score, low down payment, making those proponents of mortgages more expensive. What they did is they balanced some other things out. So certain credit buckets were getting like discounts. So instead of it being a cost, it would be a credit based on certain FICO determinations. And they did an evaluation. And by the way, this was out for public comment all of 2022. So this isn't news to industry professionals, but this is like the consumers learning that there's a little man behind the curtain, right? This is a little Wizard of Oz discovery. So it feels personal to people, but instead of, just making it more expensive for those higher risk, quote unquote, higher risk borrowers, what they did was they made it cheaper for some of those credit buckets because it was significantly more expensive than it is right now. So they made some improvements on that side, but they also made it a little bit less advantageous at certain other buckets. So some of the higher credit, larger down payments. And now it wasn't, people feel it's a little bit of a Robin Hood, taking from the rich to give to the poor type of situation. But what they did is they determined that the credit risk has been so low for so long, right? The foreclosure rate has never been this low for this long anyways. And so we're seeing risk kind of mitigated across the board. It's just lower risk. And they're determining that it isn't the FICO, it isn't the down payment necessarily that's going to prevent certain people from foreclosing and guarantee that others will. And so they're balancing their books a bit. But what happened was this rolled out and it came in a media blur saying that the better credit people are getting taxed on this, and it became very political, which is happening a lot in our industry. And it's neither here nor there. This was out for public opinion for a very long time. It was rolled out in January and has been in pricing for a long time. But the announcement said May 1st, all loans delivered to Fannie and Freddie May 1st or after will have these fees. Well, those loans that are delivered to Fannie and Freddie have to go through a loan originator. They have to go through closing, then post-closing, and then they're delivered. So lenders started pricing this in the first week of February. This isn't something that
This isn't something new.
consumers
It's just, we're just hearing about it. And Mark, I know you're on mute and we also have callers. So I'm sorry to do this, but Mark, can you hear us okay now?
Perfectly.
Oh, yeah. And you sound great. Perfect. So we have Mark Eitel with us as well. And he is my friend from Clubhouse. I like to say that he's my friend. He's such a good guy and such a wealth of knowledge. I love having him on a couple of weeks ago, and he was gracious to come back with us tonight. But I just have to break for a few minutes because I have two very important men on hold right now. So I have Chief Viveros, who is the chief of the Pembroke Fire Department. And I also have Chief McDonald on, who is the chief of the Pembroke Police Department. And as you know, tonight is town meeting and we have a big event going on. So hello, gentlemen. How are you? Hi, chiefs.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Perfect. So why don't you give our listeners a little idea of what's going on, what we are, what our committee is looking for tonight, and give everybody the big, hey, you're invited to town meeting tonight.
So we're having the meeting tonight and we're looking for residents to come in and support the police and fire, knowing that our facilities are inadequate and we have to protect our first responders so they have the tools to do their job. So we ask that you come in tonight to vote yeah, and on the ballot, yes on Saturday.
Perfect. That was short and sweet. And what about you, Jason or Chief?
This is just a really important project for our town. Our public safety personnel certainly deserve better. The conditions that they're working in are substandard. This will improve public safety throughout the town by improving response times. There's just so many benefits to this project. We hope that people come out tonight and support it. And as Chief McDonald said, again on Saturday. So it takes two votes, one tonight and another one Saturday at the ballot.
And I know that I had you also on my show on Saturday, and Christine James from WATD did such a fabulous job interviewing you, and Sheriff McDonald came as well. And we also had Deputy Chief Wendy LaPierre in the absence of Chief McDonald, who wasn't able to attend. And we had a lot of good information on that. I think tonight there will also be some presentations that will be given probably from town manager. Is that how that's going to work tonight?
Yes, I mean, the video itself speaks 1,000 words. So if you actually come and watch the video and see some of the conditions that we're working in and some talking points to get a better understanding of what the needs are.
Absolutely. And Jason, any last words from you as well? I'm sorry, I should call you chief, but since we're old buddies now, being on this committee.
Yeah. We're really, we're optimistic about tonight. We think that, the people in town have a grasp of how important this is to both their safety and the safety of our first responders. And, we're optimistic that we'll have a positive vote tonight, and we'll continue to put out information right up until Saturday. If people have questions, they feel free to reach out to the police chief or I, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that people have. If they want tours of the facilities, whatever, we don't want to leave any stone unturned. So whatever it takes, we're there to answer questions and make sure we have informed voters.
And we want to thank you, Sharon McNamara, for all your time and resources, which you never had to do. You just volunteered, and it goes a long way when it comes to making a difference there.
Absolutely.
My pleasure. My pleasure, guys. And I think Christine hit it well this past weekend. Christine James is, I've been passionate about certain things in my life that have always been sort of revolved around my children or my family. My husband's with me tonight. And I look at the conditions that you're in, and I just think that this is what you need. I wouldn't want any of my family members working in the conditions that you're working in. And I know it's hard. I'm trying to have perspective of how people are thinking about their taxes. I've been trying to, help people through that. The longer we wait, the more it's going to be. So I just feel we cannot continue to keep kicking this can down the road. You guys and ladies, all of our first responders certainly deserve a safe place to call your home. No pun intended, but hey, it's my real estate show. I can say whatever I want. So, all right, guys, I have my guests on with me. We're going to continue our show, and I might let Jazmine finish off my show so my husband, Mark, and I can head over there. So save me a seat somewhere, will you? Can you save me a book? I always end up not getting one of those books. Can you save me a book?
We will do that
The
for you.
warrant. Yeah, save me the warrant, please.
Thank your husband for sharing you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah. All right, guys. I know you got this. I'm rooting for you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. We'll see you later. So again, that was Chief McDonald and Chief Rivera's, both from Pembroke Fire and Pembroke Police Station. And tonight's a big night. And we're hoping that, if you are driving home right now and you're listening, the best way to get any of your answers.
Please hang up and try again. If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
George?
What's up?
We can hear that's something about the telephone is going on. So I just wanted to make sure you hung up.
It's hung up.
All right, good. Yeah, it's important to get out there and make your vote count and ask questions. That's what we're there for. So, and Saturday, don't forget to vote Saturday. All right, guys. So sorry for that little break. It was just important because tonight is a big night, and I'm going to let you guys take over from here. You guys go at it. You geek out, like you say. It's all things mortgages, and I just love hearing the two of you go back and forth. So, Mark, why don't we give you the opportunity to introduce yourself? Although you are not in our general area, you are down in Florida. So when people are looking for loans and things down there, you can service them there. But tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, thanks for that. And so my name is Mark Eitel. I host the Mr. Mortgage radio show. We're nationally syndicated, and we talk about this stuff every week. So if anyone wants to learn more about me or the team or hear more mortgage babble, just check out mrmortgageradio.com. And as always, you can shoot us questions. I'm always happy to help, happy to answer. And I'm glad that I'm with Jazmine tonight because we do this once a week on our own platforms in Clubhouse. And I always enjoy the opportunity to discuss these topics that the news, whether intentionally or unintentionally, seem to continually get wrong. And it's just spinning people around the axle. And I love the fact that you're providing this forum just so we can get the info out.
Mm-hmm. It's really important. And I think too, just educating people on what they're hearing, because I did an open house a couple weekends ago, and there were 57 groups. Actually, Mark did it with me, my Mark here. We had 57 groups of people come through. It was over 125 people. And I actually heard people saying, yeah, can you believe this whole situation? That people with terrible credit scores are better off than us. And we have an 800 credit scores. We're just going to go out and ruin our credit. So I think it's important to get the truths out. So where do you guys want to take it from here? I'm going to leave it.
Can I just
Well,
write
I want
on
to
that?
Yeah, I want to give this one to Jazmine because we were talking about this last week. We did a live Zoom and a live Facebook for this very same reason. And I want her to tell the story, but people are actually convinced that missing a car payment is somehow going to benefit them in applying for a new mortgage. And guys, that couldn't be further from the truth. But the fact that it's been misreported so often and so heavily that people are walking around and thinking hurting the credit that they've worked so hard to establish is somehow going to benefit them. It's dangerous. So I'm going to let Jazmine share the story that she shared with us last week.
Yeah, it was really exactly what you said, Sharon. It's really bad on the misinformation. And so I had a set of clients. We're under contract right now. I was updating credit and I was like, okay, what happened here? And said, I had heard that getting a lower credit score would actually improve my interest rate. So I missed a couple car payments. Isn't this awesome? Tell me what I'm saving. And I had to restructure the whole loan, remove him so I could do it in just his wife's name because her credit was so much higher. And now we had plenty of room in the debt to income. It was going to qualify nice and easily. And now because we have to pivot, it's going to be really tight. And the reason we have to do it is because the impact of the interest rate, same exact loan, same property, same down payment, same everything. The only thing changing is the credit score is 0.5% higher with his new score than it would have been with his previous score. And it's almost 0.75% better now with her current credit score than his new credit score. So it was an intentional tanking because he heard something on the news, and it was a local anchor to our area, and they straight out said, you should just hurt your credit then. That's what we should be doing.
I heard that. We heard that on the news that morning. I heard it. I 100% heard that said.
So one more time for the kids in the back. The lower your credit score, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. The higher your credit score, you're going to pay a lower interest rate. Now, respective to where things were 3 months ago, you're paying, if you have a higher credit score, you're paying a little more than you used to pay. And if you have a lower credit score, you're paying less than you used to pay. So proportionate to how things were, they have improved for the lower credit score person, but only compared to themselves. Compared to each other, a higher credit score still outweighs any lower credit score in every borrowing category, from mortgage insurance premiums to down payment requirements to interest rate. And that's where everybody's getting it wrong, because we see that heat map and we've got, we instantly flash to Robin Hood, right? Rob from the rich, give to the poor. And in one context or another, that's happening. We're charging one class of borrower more and one class of borrower less. So it's logical to assume one is subsidizing the other, but it's not a proportionate change. And it's still better for you to have a higher credit score. And that's what I really think we need to beat home to the clients. And then secondly, and I'm sorry I jumped in late, I was having some tech difficulties, but I heard Jazmine and she explained it wonderfully. These fees, although everybody heard about it recently, they've been baked into the cake. And I know that doesn't make it an easier pill to swallow, but they didn't just happen last week. Those fees have been built in. So the loans that were sold on the wholesale market, well after you and I sign the papers at closing and borrow the money, that loan gets packaged with many, many others, millions and millions of dollars worth of loans, and then sold on the secondary market. So in order for that transaction to happen after the first of the month, those prices took effect, meaning it's just like baking a cake. If you want that cake by 3 o'clock, you start baking it well earlier in the day. Those loan level pricing adjustments were put into place long enough ago that all loans saleable on the secondary market to Fannie and Freddie had that pricing adjustment built in. Again, doesn't make it an easier pill to swallow, but just another point that people are, they're misunderstanding it. And it's all because of the news, which is mind blowing to me that they're getting it wrong.
And it's so interesting because it seems like such common sense that you wouldn't want to ruin your credit score for any reason. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just common sense, in my opinion. And if I was in the middle of a loan, the first person I would call, Jazmine, would be you.
And, you know, I want to give some grace here because it is easy for someone to take 5 seconds out of their time, look at the chart that was rolling around. I will not share it again because it is that detrimental. And look at the color brackets, the color coding. I mean, it is done to invoke anger. The color choices, you know, the key parts, even the things they highlighted. And it is an oversimplification over something that was, what was it, Mark, 10, 20 pages long, the Fannie Mae announcement. It was pages and pages of data, and they're taking 5 seconds in zero mortgage industry to process this. Mortgage industry experience to process this. They don't have the tools. And also it looks new. It looks like, okay, I'm now getting this charge. You don't know how interest rates are made. You see the cake at the end, right? And you're happy with it, you're cutting it, you're celebrating, but you don't see the flour and the sugar and all these things. Now, this is one of the ingredients, and it has been since 2008. And really where I really want people to understand is it's okay that you don't know. But you have to realize as industry professionals who can translate it for you, you have to trust us. Like, having an argument with me about it, telling me that I'm wrong on it, isn't going to get you a lower interest rate. That I can see behind the curtain, I can explain it to you. I can't tell you how many people don't believe me when I'm like, your higher credit score is definitely better because of that 2 seconds. And so it's like, you take that information, you get angry about it, you internalize it, whether you're, you know, just angry because it's new, or because you need something to be angry about, or because you're like in the process and thinking, okay, this was going to be this much cheaper last week. Slow down. From 3 months ago, yes, more expensive. Yep. No, since the, you know, beginning of January versus now, if you're in that bucket, a little bit more expensive, but not from 3 weeks ago, not from a month ago, not from 2 months ago. That's already reflected. That's already in there. So process it for yourself and based on your loan. Also, if you have an FHA, USDA, VA loan, this doesn't apply to you. So some of the people who've been really angry have been my FHA clients. I'm like, this doesn't apply to you at all. This has nothing to do with you. This is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac adjustments. So really, you have to take the information. You're allowed to be angry. Take it up the chain, complain to the CFPB, you know, write letters to the Mortgage Bankers Association, get involved if it's something, you know, you want to, but don't think that this is a new situation, a new tax on you. Don't think that this is something that came out of the woodworks, and don't think that that chart that you're seeing is the end pricing. Because Mark and I talked about this, Mortgage Mark and I talked about this. Multiple times about how people think that that's either an impact on the interest rate, like say one bracket says 0.75. Now they're like, okay, if it's 6%, now my interest rate is 6.75%. Or they'll think, now if my interest rate was 6%, now I have 0.75 in points cost. It's neither. It's coming into the cake ingredients. And so it doesn't impact your cake. It just impacts the balance of how that cake is made. And so understanding it as a whole is important.
So like if I was making a carrot cake, maybe a few more carrots.
Right. I think that's a brilliant analogy. It's just it's a different mix of the same ingredients that are baking the cake, and the end result will be the same. You'll have the same cake. And most people don't realize that and Jazmine mentioned a great point, the by the time the interest rates get to the consumer, and these aren't fees that we arbitrarily as individual lenders, you know, choose to invoke. Jazmine and I, in different regions of the country with different firms, are still governed by those same guidelines because we're trying to bake a cake. And those ingredients were arbitrarily changed. And we are all, as an industry, putting strategies in place to make it work, whether it's a rate buy down or switching to a different program. And there are some programs, as Jazmine mentioned, the government loans, FHA, VA, USDA, that aren't affected. In the investor space, they're not affected with the what we call non-QM loans. It's just the Fannie and Freddie buckets. But I guess another thing that we've said it before, but I really want to put an exclamation point behind it, and Jazmine just explained it brilliantly. That 0.75% adjustment, or 3/4 of a point, right? That doesn't get added to your closing costs as 3/4 of a point, nor does it change your interest rate by 3/4 of a point, because these ingredients in this cake, they range on the average loan between 2 and 4 percentage points that we're using the ingredients, whether the down payments, this, the credit scores, this, all of those ingredients affect the cake, which is the interest rate. And they've always done it. It's just a change to that recipe. So I thought that was a brilliant analogy. And then it doesn't impact your interest rate either as a percentage, because last week was ground zero for confusion, because we had the Federal Reserve raise interest rates by 1/4 of a point, which is the overnight rate, doesn't impact directly mortgage rates, but nobody understands that, nor do they want to hear it. And we had these loan level pricing adjustments. So the average person out there says, wait a minute, I was quoted 6% last week. Now this chart tells me I get a 3/4 of a point fee increase, and the Fed just increased it. That means my 6% rate is 7, or my 7 is 8. This is crazy. Well, that's not what happened. So I think getting this message out there, if it does, first of all, none of us are defending it. We are all equally upset for different reasons, because it's an arbitrary money grab. And I can argue politically all the way back for the last 10 years, these fees should have been reduced for everybody. The reason they were invoked, we've long gotten past that economic environment. So yes, the fees for the lower credit score borrower should have been lowered because they were astronomical. And the higher credit score borrower, if you're putting, in my opinion, now this is just me, one guy who's been doing this for a long time, if you're putting 20% down, you've established a risk threshold that doesn't require mortgage insurance that every bank is comfortable with. You should pay no fee. You should pay no additional fee, because you are establishing a very low risk threshold to the bank. But that's my own argument. So yes, we should all be upset, but we also need to understand what it's actually doing to us. And it's not impacting anybody as much as they think it is, and certainly not enough to justify not moving forward with a major decision in life like buying or selling real estate.
And perhaps
Especially if
it
you're
isn't-
comfortable with the payment. So
Exactly. No, sorry. And maybe it isn't impacting them, financially as much as they are, but I think it's like bruised feelings about it because of them feeling like that, the whole stealing from the rich to give to the poor type thing. And I think who's seeing it isn't even the rich, because they're probably not even paying attention anyways, because it doesn't really matter to them. It's, who it's mattering to is the people in the middle.
That worked really hard to get to that point, that they've got great credit and a great down payment. And we're in this whole pay your fair share environment politically.
Yeah.
And in some instances, that's probably, a justifiable argument, but this feels like one of those being applied to somebody who's already paid their fair share in life, done the diligent things, managed their credit, saved a down payment, and there's no justification to penalize those people. And guys like me coming on and saying, guys, the fees have always been there, don't worry about them. I came up with this the other day. I said it would be like being at a restaurant and you're eating your soup and you find a hair in your soup, and you call the waiter over to complain, and the waiter says, Mark, don't worry about it. That hair has always been there. You were really enjoying the soup. Just keep eating and don't worry about it. It's that kind of feels dismissive when we say, don't worry about it. It's always been there. And I don't think that's any of our objectives in dismissing it, but just making people aware that because they are there, and because they're built into the rate, and because the fees are way, way more than just 3/4 of a point, it's a speed bump in the road and not a big, hill to climb.
Yeah. I'm going to give the phone number just in case we have any of our listeners that might want to ask a question on this topic, because I know everybody's talking about it because I hear it everywhere. And it's funny because everything I hear is wrong. I was like, you have to listen to the show that I did with Jazmine and Mark. Please just listen to it. But if you are listening, to all my WATD listeners, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. George is in studio in Marshfield. I am here along with my husband of 30 years. Thank you for sitting side by side with me. Yeah, you couldn't think of it.
Any other place I'd rather.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Did you bring me supper?
I did.
Oh, good. I'll eat that on the way to town meeting. Again, 781-837-4900. If you have any questions regarding this topic, any other mortgage questions that you might have for them as well, please call in. Okay, Jazz,
take, do you hate when I do that? I know you probably hate that word when people call you Jazz. No, it just comes
No,
out of me.
I've I've long since taken that.
Okay.
When new people call me Jazzy, I find that very weird.
When people that don't know me call me Sha, I'm like, you haven't earned that right yet.
Yeah, you gotta earn the nickname.
You have not earned that right yet. Yeah.
I won't tell you what people call me. We'll keep that off the air.
Yeah.
I will be asking you about that mortgage mark on Thursday. But mortgage mark is right. It's not so much that we're up here saying don't be mad about it because it's always existed. It is be mad about the things that impact you with knowledge.
Mhm.
Figure out how it impacts you. First of all, does it even impact you, right? And go about it the right way. Don't just hear rumors and think that, and try to be mad because someone told you to be mad. That's really what gets me, like the announcement timing. And we talked about this, Mortgage Mark and I talked about this offline a little bit. The timing of this announcement is really peculiar with a lot of other things that was rolled out the same exact day. Like some big investment firms getting a ton of money to buy single family residence was rolled out just an hour after this. And so if you're angry about it, first put it in context. See how it actually plays out, because you don't know what those loan level pricing adjustments were before. So if you don't know what they were before, this adjustment chart doesn't mean anything to you. And then if you can't price a mortgage loan, then it doesn't really mean anything to you too until you talk to a professional. So get the information based on you. Don't just be like, I'm putting off my home search this year because it's this much more expensive. I'm going to wait for them to settle it out. Well, it's been here since 2008. And so if it gets settled,
So why is it just coming out now? Like who released this? And was it ever, it was never like sort of like listed on a HUD or a CD, because it was a HUD back then and a CD, never listed anywhere. It was just part of, these are the fees, these are whatever, this is what my cake makes. So somebody's trying to piss people off by releasing the heat map. So
that's what I'll let Mortgage Mark.
No.
Theory.
I think I think it's brilliant. So the reason nobody's seen these fees is because it's built into the interest rate.
Okay.
It's just like, as much as I hate this analogy, it's like going to the car dealer and they're throwing in the undercoating and they're throwing in the floor mats, but you never see that because it's all built into the transaction. So the difference might have been a 6% interest rate versus a 6.25% if all those fees weren't in there, but you as a borrower never knew that because you were quoted 6.25%. That's what shows up on your settlement statement, or in the old days on the HUD. You don't see all of the fees that are built into that 6.25%, because the lenders make money by originating a loan. That's how we on the ground level get paid. We get paid a very small percentage of the transaction for delivering that loan to the market. But the investors get paid to collect interest, or they can get upfront fees when they sell those mortgage-backed securities amongst themselves. The higher the interest rate, the more valuable that is. So these loan level pricing adjustments are more built in so that there's an attractive interest rate on the secondary market, and the interest rate is adjusted to risk. And it's extremely complicated. And I don't think anybody has ever understood it, because when you call your bank, or you call Jazmine, or you call myself, and we say the rate of the day is 6, and then you call 3 other people, and if everybody says the rate of the day is 6, the rate of the day is 6, you never deconstruct that rate to see what fees were attributed to what to make that interest rate 6. And honestly, most loan officers don't even understand it. They pull their computer up and their pricing of the day is right out there for everybody to see. So when you go to a website like Mortgage News Daily, which I talk about all the time, it's a great website for people just to get a high level overview of what's going on without deep diving. And you see a rate of 6.68%, I think was earlier today. That has all of it built in. That's why nobody's been aware of it. And I think that heat map was the best illustration of how it affected individuals that individuals could understand. It's like the I don't, we're probably, Sharon, you and I are probably old enough to remember Garanimals. Jasmine,
yeah.
you probably don't.
Yeah, with
Okay,
the
you do.
sweaters.
So when
Come
we
on.
were kids,
I have
we
one on
took
now.
okay. That's the only thing that gets me dressed in the morning.
Yeah.
But that was understandable, right? We took the
Mhm.
little lion and we found the pants with the little lion on them. And then
Yep.
we knew we could leave the house and our mother wouldn't slap us in the back of the head.
Yep.
We understood that because it was very simple.
Mhm.
And this heat map is very simple. And I said it last time we were on the air. It looks like one of those Doppler weather radar charts,
Yeah.
right? Red is bad, green is okay, yellow
Mhm.
somewhere in the middle. And they did a brilliant job of illustrating who is affected in which direction, up or down. And I think because of that, it clearly indicates that a big percentage of people who, for all intents and purposes, should have the red carpet rolled out for them are suddenly realizing, wait a minute, I've been paying a fee and now I'm going to pay a higher fee. I don't know what the intent was behind it. I think it was just done in this technology age to make a 10-page document one easy to digest document. But I promise you that's what sparked it, because the same people that are smart enough to sit on the news and tell people to miss car payments to get a better interest rate are the ones that are looking at that map. And that's the scary truth. They look at that and see, oh, green means good, you want to be here, not knowing what any of that means other than it's an improvement from what it used to be. So I don't know the logic behind it other than that was the best and most simple illustration that I've ever seen for a 10-page document of changes to fees. So
Some of the fees too. It
Mhm.
doesn't even cover like the two big changes that happened last year are 3 to over 4 points difference on second homes and investments. That got me really, really angry. Hopefully we can focus some anger there as well. If you're buying an investment or a second home, it is points more expensive than it was. We're talking, for a $400,000 loan, somewhere between $12,000 and $17,000 more expensive because of the classification for second home and investors. And they
Really?
did that. Oh yeah, from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That changed last year. Oh my gosh, maybe even 2 years ago now.
Mhm.
But that rolled out and it increased a couple times. These loan pricing adjustments have changed over the years, and that right there, if you were shopping in the middle for an investment property or a second home, and then your rates shot up, that's a loan level pricing adjustment change.
but you
And
said
I,
it. You said it right there. Their rates went up. They didn't
yeah,
realize why they went up. They just heard,
yeah.
wait a minute, second homes and investment properties are now higher interest rates. But
Hmm.
it was as a direct result of those changes, and people didn't understand the recipe that made that change, and now they do, or at least they understand the illustration of it. They don't understand the fundamentals of it.
This
Yep.
is going to
And
have
this
to, I
is,
already thought of another topic for another show. So this is how it goes with you guys. Maybe it's just our show from now on, the three of us, right? And Melissa when she comes back. But Mark, I know like listening to Clubhouse in the morning, it seems like Florida, there's just more and more people that are going to Florida and flocking to Florida. And we, of course, saw the people here that were snowbirds. But I'm just curious, the people that you're seeing there, are they people who are moving in and they're doing it full time? So they're selling their primary, or is it a second home for them?
Well, that's the age old question, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who will buy in just to back up for 1 second, the logic behind the increase in second homes interest rate, or the LLPAs that directly influenced interest rate, were that suddenly a lot of people were buying investment property with the intent to Airbnb it, because this is a pretty
Yeah.
new phenomenon, right? In our world, the whole Airbnb thing. Before, if you bought a second home in Florida, you might be lucky to rent it out a few months if your building allowed it in during the summer for off season. Now, suddenly Airbnb allows you to rent it out every other weekend that you're not there. So people were calling investment properties second homes and getting a preferential interest rate and a preferential down payment, because for a minute there, they were treated like primary residences as far as pricing. So there was a threshold of mortgages that were second homes that exceeded a comfort level. And they look at everything compared to the Great Recession and saying, okay, wait a minute, 18% of all mortgages originated were second homes. And we're now and I don't know if these are the exact numbers, but that was the logic that they were using, saying, okay, we're approaching this threshold that we saw problems with in the past. We're going to treat them both as investment properties. But to answer your question, people would love to be able to have two primary residences. So what we see a lot of is people will buy the Florida house as an Airbnb with a DSCR loan because it's easier. And those interest rates are starting to get pretty parallel. And then they'll relocate eventually and make it their primary because they can't claim primary in both instances, and treating it as a true second home takes that rental piece out of the equation. So a lot of people are just calling it, what do you call it, a short-term rental, and using that strategy.
All right. We're going to have a whole show on that, right?
Yeah.
Jasmine. Okay. So that's going to, I already put it down, fall. We're going to be talking about all that because we could really, really go in. We literally have 4 minutes left. Yeah. So this is what I wanted. So when we ended the last time, you said FHA would be a better place for people to be anyways. So maybe it doesn't even really matter, but Jazmine, you have like 2 minutes here to try to get what your thoughts were out about that FHA being a better place.
When we're talking about the lower credit score bucket, when you're talking about that for pricing, interest rates are very sensitive in the conventional loans for FICO scores. With FHA, it's not so much. The coupon is already lower. It's government, insured. So there's already some security for lenders. Interest rates start off lower. So you're not going to have as big of an impact with a lower credit score. Now, I'm used to be 680 under. Now it's kind of 700 under with these new adjustments. And so with a lower credit score, you're going to have savings on the interest rate and the mortgage insurance 9 times out of 10. So if FHA is an option, the payment difference can be, hundreds of dollars less on a in our market with the average price of homes, the average price of my loans right now are $523,000. So we're talking about hundreds of dollars a month going FHA versus conventional. So where they made the savings for conventional, I really only found it to be people who can't go FHA. Say it's a condo that's not FHA approved, or it's a single family home that's got some chipping paint or some sort of safety issues, quote unquote safety issue, that can't go FHA. I think Mortgage Mark, do you agree with that?
100%. I think if you take a 635 credit score borrower and apples to apples, FHA beats it all day, every day. And that's partially
twice on
because
Sunday.
Sunday too. That's partially because the program carries a better interest rate from the beginning, but FHA reduced their mortgage insurance component. That cost was reduced. And if you take those two factors together, it's always been a lower price compared to the same borrower conventional. It still is, even with these adjustments. So assuming the property meets FHA guidelines, I don't think these loan level pricing adjustments help as much as they're being sold us to help, because FHA has always been a better choice.
Yeah. And I mean, there are a couple of things. The mortgage insurance is for the life of the loan, for 30-year fixed FHA loans. And you're going to pay mortgage insurance premium up front of 1.75, which gets rolled into your loan. So if you're borrowing 100,000, you're really borrowing 101,750, right? So you have those two drawbacks, but otherwise you're really looking at FHA under those credit scores. So we critique a lot. Nope.
Hear the music.
But that's it.
I know. And here we go. So again, I love having you guys on. We could talk about this all the time. I'm sorry I had to interrupt with the Chiefs. Will you come back yet again? I think we have all the technical stuff down. I love having you. So we're going to connect again next month on some topic. You guys come up with it. And we can do Saturday, which is a whole hour rather than just the 30 minutes or so that we have. Thank you again, Jazmine and Mark. Have a great week. I got to get to town meeting and vote. Bye.
Good luck. Bye.
Bye. Sorry, guys, that went by so fast.
WATB
That was awesome.
Marshfield.
Yeah, I know.
WPNS
Thank you.
Rockland.
Thank you. It's a big one for them.
South Shores
Yeah.
first
Let me know
choice
how it
for
goes on
live
Saturday.
All right.
coverage.
I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Mark.
Emergency
Thank you.
traffic and severe weather. WATD. Streaming online at 95.9 WATD.
We are.